Derby Wars, racing's biggest contest site, is now even bigger with more than 200 games every day. Check out Survivor, Derby Wars' hottest new game. It's fun, easy to play, and for just $4 you could win $1,000. Just pick a horse to finish first, second, or third and advance to the next race. With daily payouts and games starting every hour, you'll see why fans are racing to play Survivor. Go to DerbyWars.com now, use promo code Survivor to get 5 free Survivor games with your first deposit.
Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. As always, I'm Brian Zipsey, your host, and I have the great pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast, Matt Shipman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm great. Brian, that was a heck of a weekend of racing, so let's get going.
Let's get going. Well, you know, we've been calling HorseCenter for these months leading up to the first Saturday in May, Matt, as the Kentucky Derby Watch HorseCenter. But we're going to go off track today, just a little bit off track, because we had big doings in Dubai. Matt, California Chrome, one of the most popular horses, I'd say after American Pharoah's retired, the most popular horse in training right now. And he did his thing in style in the Dubai World Cup. Matt, what did you think?
That was a wow performance, Brian. I mean, I know, just to blow my horn a little bit, and not a greatest pick in the world, but I picked California Chrome to win the World Cup, and he did me right. What a performance, Brian! That horse, he really dominated that field. And the amazing thing was that none of us noticed. He runs off, beats those horses easily, and we don't even see that the horse's saddle is slipped all the way back to almost his rear end. You always hear about saddles slipping, and, you know, before the gate, they start and they fix the saddle and they move it an inch or two. But when it was over and you saw the picture of that we have up on our website of him hitting the finish line, something horrible could have happened. I don't know how everything worked out so beautifully. It was amazing.
It was amazing, Matt. And this is a true story, folks. I have two things to say about the race. First off, second grade basketball, Matt. I was 7 at the time. My shorts fell down around my ankles, and I found it very hard to compete that day. So I can only imagine California Chrome's issue with the saddle. Yeah, it was way back on his rump by the time they crossed the wire. Also, folks, I have to admit, I've taken a lot of slack for this, and I'm very happy to say that I was wrong. Frosted was my pick in the Dubai World Cup, not California Chrome, and California Chrome made me look silly. I'm happy for Chrome. I thought it was his career best performance, Matt, and of course now he is North America's richest thoroughbred of all time. Not bad for the little California bred that could.
And I agree with you completely, Brian. It was without a doubt his finest day, his greatest performance. And that's what I felt going in. I thought this horse was a completely different horse. We threw out his 4-year-old season, and now he's 5 years old and mature. And he was just absolutely amazing. Right now, I don't hesitate to say that he is the best horse in training right now in North America.
Yeah, I think he's the best dirt horse in the world. I can't argue that. I don't think my pick Frosted ran his best race. Sour Grapes maybe. But having said that, if he did run his best race, I think it would have been for second. That's how good California Chrome was. Opportunity ran a good race to rally up for third. Move to Hege has been slowly improving, and he threw in a good one to be second. But this was all about California Chrome, the former Horse of the Year, the former Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner, coming back in full glory. Matt, you're right. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's just a better horse, more physically able than he was last year. And it was great to see.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. And I sure hope that we get a chance to see him on the East Coast again after he comes back and clears quarantine and gets a little bit of a rest. I hope we get to see him 3-4 more times in the U.S.
Well, you never know, Matt. I did talk to Art Sherman earlier this year, and his plans were very California-centric. He wasn't talking about the Arlington Million. He wasn't talking about the East Coast. He was talking races like the Pacific Classic and the Breeders' Cup Classic, of course, which will be at Santa Anita this year. I can understand why he wants to keep his big horse close to home after this big trip to Dubai. And I don't, I have no problems with him doing that. The Breeders' Cup Classic is in California. Having said that, you never know. TaylorMade, Perry Martin, maybe they'll want to do something. They even talked about that Rich proposed $12 million race at Gulfstream Park early next year. Who knows? But right now, let's just enjoy what a performance by an American superstar, California Chrome in Dubai. Well done.
Bravo to California Chrome.
Bravo to Chromie. All the Chromies are happy, Matt. Hey, let's get back on this Kentucky Derby thing. I don't know if you know this, but we are 40 days out. 40 days, 40 nights, and we got the Derby.
Yep, 40 days, and we're down to just a handful of races, and the big ones are coming.
Big ones are coming. The first 100-point race of the series. Well, I guess the first one was the UAE Derby. But the first one in America was on Saturday night. It was the Louisiana Derby. Mo Tom, who lost the Risen Star, was the favorite. The horse that won the Risen Star, Gun Runner, was not the favorite. It seems like Gun Runner should have been the favorite.
Yeah, when you look back at it now, Brian, and realize that Gun Runner now has only lost one race in his career. He won the Risen Star in impressive fashion and went off as the third choice, almost 4-1. I think we should have been betting in that race, Brian.
Well, Gun Runner, the Risen Star, you say impressive, but those horses were getting to him a little bit in the Risen Star. They weren't getting to him this time in the Louisiana Derby. 4 for 5 lifetime. This was only his second start of the year, so improvement was expected for the Son of Candy ride, and he delivered in a big way. The story of the race, though, can't be just about Gun Runner, Matt, because once again, even worse than last time, Mo Tom was shut off, steadied, bumped, and totally taken out of his game. He was running once, as he always has. He was running early in the stretch, and Corey Lanery took him a spot where there was just no room, and he left him there, and he got steadied more than once.
Yeah, Brian, I just didn't know what to think when I was watching the race, and Gun Runner's making his move, and there, once again, was it the exact same spot on the track, Brian? The same thing happened, the same kind of getting bumped and crushed into the rail and pulled up. I could not believe that the same thing was happening again to Mo Tom, to a lot of people who had bet the horse down to being a favorite. And after the race, there were some hard feelings, and Corey Lanery was upset and said after the race that it was my fault, I messed up, and Tom Amoss was upset about the ride and said some stuff and later apologized for the way he handled it. But bottom line is when are we going to get to see Mo Tom run a full race and have a good trip?
Well, he did win the Lecomte earlier this year, Matt. But yeah, I can understand your bewilderment to what happened in the Louisiana Derby. But 2 races in a row, a little different. I thought he had less room on the rail this time. Last time, I thought the horse came in as he was tiring more. This time, Lanery tried to find a hole that was closing and just wasn't there, and he was stuck there for a while. So his late rally was really, really late this time, and he was, once again, he was finishing fast, but this time it was only for 4th. Who knows? The good news is everybody came out of the Louisiana Derby healthy. We're expecting the second place runner, Tom's Ready, the 4th place finisher, Mo Tom, from the same owners, the New Orleans Saints owner, by the way, and of course Gun Runner. They're all going to make their next start, it looks like, right in the Kentucky Derby. So no more preps. Gun Runner, Mo Tom, I want your opinion, Matt. I left both of them in my top 10 this week, kind of switched spots, putting Gun Runner higher. But are they legitimate Kentucky Derby horses in your mind right now as their next race?
And I did the same thing in my top 10s too. Gun Runner moved up, Mo Tom moved down a little bit. I am way more impressed with Gun Runner now, as we should have been. the race he needed in the Risen Star, did him a world of good. He showed a far greater burst of speed coming down the stretch, which is something that's needed in the Derby. Again, though, it's another furlong in the Derby. Is Gunrunner going to be one of my top picks in the Derby? I don't know. Am I going to use Gunrunner in my trifecta? I don't know. Does Mo Tom maybe still have a better running style, better chance of stretching out to the 10 furlongs? Maybe so.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, Matt. Gunrunner is obviously a nice horse. Like we said, he's won 4 or 5. He also puts himself in excellent position to win races by stalking. He's maneuverable. He's got tactical speed. So he gets to that point in the race where he has a chance to win every single time, it seems like. So that's a thing to like. And he might still be getting better, the son of Candy Ride. Right now I kind of see him though as a 10-1, 12-1 shot that probably is not in my top 3 either. Mo Tom is interesting. I don't know. I don't think Mo Tom is going to be 50-1 because people are seeing all the troubles he's having in these 2 races. But he seems like a horse who could rally up. I don't think either one is going to be in my top 3 come the first Saturday in May, though. Fair enough.
Agree with
all
that.
right. Nice, Matt. We're gonna put last Saturday aside. We're gonna move ahead to this Saturday because there is a ton to talk about, and it basically boils down to 2 horses, folks. This is the showdown we've really been waiting for a while. We're talking Florida Derby, $1 million bonus on the line for one of them. That's Nyquist, the juvenile champion, 6 for 6. Mohaymen himself is 5 for 5. Matt, something's got to give with these 2 undefeated superstars.
Something's got to give. This is the big one. It seems like we've been waiting for this race since the calendar turned to 2016. It's going to be exciting. There aren't going to be any bad trips. It's going to be a small field. These guys should go at it around the racetrack. Brian, I've had Mo Heyman on the top of my list all year long. I am very impressed with Nyquist. I think he's a gutsy horse. My big question is at this point, Nyquist is coming into the race off of just a 7 furlong prep race and, a reasonable gap in time between that race and the Florida Derby. That's my only question mark. That's the only thing that I have in my mind that separates the 2 horses.
Yeah, that's fair, Matt. But the San Vicente was a heck of a performance, and what we saw last fall is Nyquist get really an education, really get experience. I have the 2 horses very close too, and I do side with you having Mohaymen on top. Some of the things I'm seeing, I might be showing my age here a little bit, and I'm not saying that these are of Alydar and Affirmed quality just yet. But they remind me a little bit of Alydar and Affirmed in a way, and here's how. I think Mohaymen, of course, the East Coast horse, has done things a little bit more easily. He looks like he's expending less energy. He looks like he has more left in the tank, where Nyquist is more of the Affirmed, where he has to grind it out a little bit more. He doesn't always win as easy, nor does it look as easy on him. We all know what happened in that rivalry as 3-year-olds, where Affirmed really got the better of Alydar over and over again. In fact, each 3 legs of the Triple Crown. So there is some history on Nyquist's side in this comparison. Mohaymen, on the other hand, I don't think he's beaten the horses that Nyquist's beaten. Nyquist has beaten more good horses to this yet, and for that maybe kind of equalizes the fact that Mohaymen has more 2016 foundation. I think it's going to be a good race. I, like you, think this Florida Derby, there's not much else in the race, so it's going to be 2 good horses who both have tactical speed taking it to each other, and may the best horse win. Another thought I'm having, Matt, is how much do these 2 put into this race, especially if it's a 4 furlong dash to the wire, duel to the wire? Does that take something out of the Kentucky Derby? The Florida Derby is not the big prize.
That's true, Brian. But, let's face it, compared to the old days, and you brought them up before, Brian, these horses are lightly raced, and they should be able to come out of a race like this even better than they were when they went into it. It should be a great tightener, get them at the top of their games. And I'll tell you, Brian, the only thing that I'll be disappointed about in the Florida Derby is if the two of them don't come battling down the stretch, head to head, going at it, right down to the wire. That's the only thing I'll be disappointed about in this race. I think the Florida Derby is the kind of race where we can sit back and watch this race and enjoy the two best 3-year-olds in the country on the road to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I will take we'll take something you said into task, Matt. Because these horses are more lightly raced than they used to be, a really tough race might actually take more out of them rather than if they had the hickory, if they had all the experience and they had a little bit more work under their belts. Either way, though, as race fans, we're not really worried about it. What we want to see is the Florida Derby. We want to see these two excellent horses hook up. May the best horse win. Matt and I both tend to like Mo Heyman just a little bit better than Nyquist at this point, but I don't think either of us would be surprised if Nyquist, the champion, if Nyquist won the Florida Derby over Mo Heyman. Should be good.
Without question. It should be great, Brian. I'm looking forward to watching the race. What do you think the odds are going to be, Brian?
I actually think, once again, we're going to have the East Coast horse as the favorite. Remember, Alydar was the favorite in the Kentucky Derby back in 1978. Most of you don't remember that. Unfortunately, I do. Alydar was the preferred horse going in. Ease of victory, East Coast. I think we'll see the same thing here. Not a big gap between the two, but I think Mo Heyman's the favorite. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. What do you think, Brian? Maybe they'll be 6-5 and 8-5, that kind of range?
Even lower, Matt. I think Mo Heyman's no higher than even money. You're talking 4-5 or even money, and then Nyquist is not far behind, maybe 7-5. So not a lot of money to be won if you're betting those two, and frankly, those are the two to bet. So it's more of a race for sport, this Florida Derby, and to see what's going on towards the Kentucky Derby than maybe a big betting opportunity. Matt, there were some other things going on. Let's go back to last Saturday, the UAE Derby. I came away impressed not so much with the winner, the lightly raced son of Tapit, the American-bred Japanese horse Lanny, or is it Lani? Lani, I guess it is. But I was more impressed with the filly, frankly, Polar River, who had a lot of trouble and finished second in the race. Any chance that Lonnie, the connections have said, yeah, we're taking the points, and of course we're coming to Kentucky. Is he a possible threat come the first Saturday in May?
I think it's great that they're going to come over, and I find it amazing that we're talking about Tapit again. It's Tapit here, it's Tapit in Japan. His influence is just unbelievable. He's not going to be in my top 3, Brian.
Okay, Matt, I'll take that a step farther. He's not going to be in my top 12, but congratulations. And like you, I'm happy that he's coming over and taking a shot. You never know. That's why they run the race, folks. But having seen the race, Polar River, who had her unbeaten record broken in the race, I think was best. And hopefully we'll get to see her at some point down the road in the United States as well.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, we got one more prep this week. It's the Spiral. It looks like a whole gaggle of horses who are kind of on the Kentucky Derby outer reaches right now are pointing for the Spiral, which is a synthetic race at Turfway Park.
Yep, our friend Aero Force is going to take another shot at the Derby Trail going onto the synthetic surface.
Yeah, Matt, I'll be there. It'll be an interesting betting race, I think, with a big field and lots of horses with questions. Aeroforce is probably the biggest name. As good as he was at 2, he'll be coming back from a poor performance earlier this year, so it'll be interesting to see how he does on a poly track at Turfway Park. Folks, we're going to be back next week with the recap of the Derby prep season. I'm talking about the Florida Derby, Mo Heyman, Nyquist. We'll be back with that recap as well as the Spiral, and we'll be looking ahead to big races the following Saturday. Matt, I think you have the Wood Memorial, and we have the Santa Anita Derby a week from Saturday.
They're all big weekends now, Brian.
Exciting stuff. Folks, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you coming in every week to watch HorseCenter. As always, we're brought to you by the best tournament site in the business, that's Derby Wars. Any closing remarks, Mr. Schiffman?
My usual thank you to the best producer in the world, Ember Mar.
Ember Mar. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next week.